Hello everybody, welcome back to Just to Pass, and in today's video we're going to be discussing on the different types of forces acting on an object. Usually when we talk about the types of forces acting in an object, we will have four different forces that usually act on an object right here. The first force that we will be discussing will be the weight force. Now, the weight force, the direction of the force will always just be directly down. Weight force is basically the gravitational force that is being pulled by the earth. Any type of object will always be pulled directly down to earth. So this is the most common one. Another example of this could be if the object is slanting like this, right here. Although it's moving downwards at this direction, the weight force will still be located downwards like this. We label it as W for weight force. The next force that we will talk about is the normal reaction force. Now, what is a normal reaction force? A normal reaction force is a force acting on an object as long as it is touching a surface. For example, if we have a table right here and we have a block, as long as this block is touching the surface of this table, a force that is directly perpendicular to the surface will be produced, which is what we call the normal reaction force. Another example could be if there is a slanted surface and we have the box right here. The normal reaction force will always act perpendicular to the surface that it is touching. Perpendicular meaning that it will be 90 degrees. So if the surface is straight like this, the force will be perfectly 90 degrees upwards like that. Another example could be if it's slanting this way and the box is this way like this. If the surface is straight here, then the normal reaction will be perpendicular to the surface of the plane. The third force that we'll be talking about is the thrust force or the tension force. Now, this force is categorized as the force that is causing the motion of the object. For example, we have a table right here again, and we have a block. This block has a string attached to it, and someone pulls the string this direction. When we look at this diagram right here, we can notice that the box is being pulled towards the right. Hence, the thrust force, or in this case, because it's the string, it is the tension force, will be towards the right. So the thrust force is used usually for engine, like for example a car. The tension will always be used for a string. Another example could be we have a block here which is being pulled upwards by a string. Hence, the upward force will be the tension. An example of a thrust force, let's say we have a car and the car is moving towards the left. What is causing the car to move towards the left? It's the engine. It's the engine thrust. So instead of calling it tension, because it's not being pulled by a string, it's basically being moved by an engine, we call it the thrust force, which we can also label as T. Now that we have discussed the force that is causing the motion, we also need to discuss the force that is opposing the motion. The frictional force, another term that we could use, is the resistance, which we label FR right here. The resistance is a force that opposes any movement, regardless of the direction of the object. Let's say we have an object right here on a table. It's being pulled by a string towards the right. Hence, the resistance or the frictional force will be acting towards the left. If let's say we have a slanting surface with a box right here and it's being pulled up, the frictional force will act at the opposite direction, FR here as well. So just remember that the frictional force will always act opposite to the movement of an object. Another example of The frictional force or the resistance force could be an object that is free falling downwards. Usually when an object is free falling downwards, it's falling due to gravity, which means it has a weight force towards the downwards. But because it is moving, as long as something is moving, there will always be a force that opposes its motion. Hence, the resistance will act upwards. This we will call the resistance force due to air resistance. Anyways, this was a brief introduction to what are the different types of forces acting on an object. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel as I'll be uploading more content in the coming weeks. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Please like the video, and I'll talk to you real soon. Take care, everyone.